Thanks, Jessica. Can everybody hear me first off in the back? I think we should give Jessica a round of applause just because she's put a lot of time and effort into making this possible. That video and just the tour in and of itself wouldn't be here without Jessica, so we appreciate her. So like she said, I'm going to start out and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the how, but first let's talk about the who. I am Andrew Ferris. I work for McMillan LLC. I'm the project administrator. Jessica introduced herself, and we always like to introduce Cliff Stump. He's in the back there with the white hat, so everybody turn and wave. He is the project manager for Barnard Construction, who is the general contractor actually building the work out here in Sitka. So I know for quite a few people, McMillan's role specifically is kind of confusing, so here's a little breakdown of how this works. The city and borough of Sitka has hired us to be the construction manager on the project, and what that means is that we coordinate closely with Cliff and his team to make sure the project is built to the design parameters within the specs and meets all the quality that the city is looking for. Beneath Barnard, you can see the key subcontractors, ASRC McGraw. They're working, for the majority of their work is on the powerhouse. Southeast Earth Movers has done most of the excavation on the project. Blue Lake Tunnelers, they came in and they did all the tunnel work on the job as well as the shafts. And Crux Subsurface are doing all the grouting and all the major drilling and pressure relief wells that are being installed on the project. So here's a kind of an overview of the project. Down in this bottom left-hand corner is the Sawmill Cove Industrial Park. You can see the highlighted yellow area is where the new powerhouse is going to be. This is the Blue Lake Road that takes you up to the dam. A couple other key features down here. We'll have the new penstock that goes into the into the new powerhouse, and we installed the adit tunnel and the surge chamber. We'll get to the specifics on each of these features as we go through the presentation. As you go up the Blue Lake Road, there's a Sawmill Creek campground where the fish valve unit is. Eventually you make your way up to the dam that we're raising, and there will be a new tunnel and a new intake structure. Those are the main features on the project. We'll go through those. So, my favorite, the dam. The green shown here is our existing dam. The spillway is at elevation 342. The new dam, highlighted in red there, you can see in the cross section as well as in the plan view there, is the new spillway elevation will be 425, so that constitutes a raise of 83 feet. It'll be 83 feet higher than it is right now. A lot of concrete and a lot of work and time and effort that goes into that. Here's a model that was built. This is actually really cool. This red down here is the existing dam once again, so you can see kind of the new outline of the dam. This kind of greenish block here you can see is what we call the thrust block. That helps support the dam and as it bears on the rock here. You can see kind of down here the drainage tunnel, which we'll talk about later, and then that's what is referred to as the plunge pool, where the water spills off the spillway and lands on the rock below. Here's a really good aerial photo. This is the biggest crane in Alaska right now, and Jessica or Cliff can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the case. It's 600-ton crane. It's a lever crane. Cliff's going to give you all the details you want about that once we get up on site. But as you can see, it's designed to reach across to the left abutment and help assist with all the work that's going on down on the dam as well as below the dam and across the canyon. This shot is taken downstream, looking upstream at the dam there. You can see the water coming out of what we call the Halbunger valve on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side is the drainage tunnel. Purpose of the drainage tunnel seems somewhat confusing. It goes in and its main purpose is to help relieve the pressure on the rock in that area. So it'll drain the rock block, not drain the reservoir, but drain the pressure that's behind that if there is any, and keep the dam stable for the long future. Also the plunge pool you can see here is just full of water. Okay, so one of the big parts of this is the moving and putting in an installation of the new intake. What we have is this yellow right here represents And starting right here, this is the existing intake as we have it out on site right now. The yellow represents the existing tunnel. Here's your dam. The new intake, which has been excavated, is right here with the new tunnel. This tunnel is about 830 feet long. That has all been excavated right now. There will be a gate shaft area right here. This is a staging area where the crane is sitting. Here you can see the cross section of the intake. So follow. Oh, I knew that was going to happen eventually. Follow this around. This is the water sitting right here. Dam is not pictured. This is a staging area up top here. Intake tunnel will come in. This is the new tunnel right here. Gate shaft. All this was excavated. This is what we call the intake structure and the access to get to that. New elevation is 303. Will be the sill, or 313. Excuse me. The sill of the intake. Uh-oh. Here's a shot from the left above it, looking at the intake portal excavation. You can see the road as it came around, down below the white arrow there. Quite a bit of rock and excavation that went into that. You can kind of gain appreciation once you get out there. This is really steep, treacherous work area, and it takes a lot of skill and expertise to do this kind of excavation. Quite a bit of work went into that. The rock you see up there, you can't quite see the intake structure right now. This is what we call the rock cofferdam. This is to help water from getting in there while we were doing our work. This will be removed next year. The other thing of note is the stairway scaffolding. That's to allow workers to get access to the dam as they raise it. It'll eventually, right now they're getting access over here with the crane, but next year there will be more scaffolding that will be added to get across back and forth. Here's the intake portal as you see it as you walk down the road. You can see the intake tunnel going in. These up here are what we call rock bolts. Those are support. You can see them right here. These support the rock as we do the excavation, make sure it all stays back. One key note on this job is we've encountered really good rock. The rock support required has been very minimal, and that's a really good thing. Not something I'm used to. I'm not from Sitka, Alaska, and you guys have good ground. Okay, so moving down to the powerhouse, you can see in green, hopefully if you're not colorblind, this is the existing powerhouse here, the after bay and weir. The new powerhouse, which we will get to see all the excavation and some of the concrete today, is sitting right here with the new after bay. You can see the tie-in of our new tunnel was up further, so this is still the existing tunnel, and then we'll add on the new penstock here, and it'll take a jog and go into the powerhouse down there, as well as they're working currently on finishing up this access road. The other part to point out is a surge chamber here. This is a vertical shaft that goes down, and this is the adit tunnel they had to drive in order to get access to this and drive the shaft up. This is a profile of the surge chamber, so the left-hand side where you see that red V is the portal. They came in, drove the tunnel in, and then rose the shaft upward. This picture is a little off. It's actually 10 foot or 11 foot in diameter, the whole length. It's about 350 feet high, give or take a few feet. This right here you see will be where next year during the generation outage, we will drive this shaft down, connect into the existing tunnel. The purpose of the surge chamber, really confusing, hard for me to explain. The best thing that I know of is a regulator in a car. Basically, as the load changes in town, people turn lights on, turn lights off, turn on their TV. This surge chamber allows the plant operator and the turbines to adjust to that load so they can generate a little more power, generate a little less. In the surge chamber, the water moves up and down in there as they require more water or less water to operate in turn. Hopefully, I don't know if that helps you understand it, but that's the way I make it make sense in my head. Very, very important for longevity of the turbines. This right here, you can see, we won't get to see the surge chamber. Well, we'll kind of point out as we're riding up the Blue Lake Road on the buses, but it's up in this upper left. Right here you can see all the excavation for the powerhouse going on Sawmill Creek Road. Just a lot of rock excavation. Again, great rock around here. Okay, this is sitting up by the pulp mill. For those of you who know where that is, this is the adit tunnel portal. You can see these steel sets around here, or what are called steel sets. This is allows permanent support on the face, stabilizes the portal, allowing access. This right here is a vent line, so when workers are in there, it's constantly moving air out to keep it safe in there for them. This is inside the adit tunnel. They have it lit up. It's really cool. Again, great rock, hardly any support. Spot rock bolting, which is really great. About as easy as it can get for installation, and as low a support as you can get as far as rock support. Now going up top, this is what the top surge chamber looks like. This is what we affectionately call the bird bath. So if you ever had a situation where the surge chamber filled up, it would come up, push these screens up on the top here. Water would flow out and fill this basin and then slowly filter out into the vegetation. The screens are there to keep animals, birds, and all that from getting in. You can see they're in the stages in this picture of putting up the fence. The fence is currently in. Okay, so this brings us to the generation outage. So we're getting all this work done, and what makes this project really tricky, probably Cliff can say or attest to, is we have to have all this ready by next August. All this meaning the powerhouse complete, the intake tunnel is done, the gatehouse installed, all the gates, the penstock ready to go in, and in August the generation outage is, well, I guess I'll start with what it is all work in the existing tunnel and new penstock must be completed during the generation outage when the tunnel will be sealed and dewatered. So what they're going to do is they'll shut down the flow in the tunnel and seal everything off so that workers can get in there and make all these connections that we showed. Obviously, if it's flowing full of water, it's hard to do that unless they're divers. So that's kind of the key date. That's what makes this project really tricky. And then we'll get into this next photo here, but I should say the outage is scheduled specifically for August-September time, and I'll explain why. These lines represent the lake levels in Green Lake and Blue Lake. So the green being Green Lake, blue being Blue Lake. This is this year, or next year, as the water comes down, which this is just a common curve that happens every year. Right around May, the water starts to fill back in the reservoirs. We're generating power, all that. It's the drier time of year. The lake level gets drawn down. As it comes back up, it fills the reservoirs. What we're looking for is the water to submerge the intake. So the intake seal, the new intake seal is at 313. So starting in August, the water is going to be hitting right at the bottom of that tunnel. That'll be sealed off and will allow the lake to fill all throughout August, September, October. 61 days is how long the generation outage is. At the end of 61 days, we want to have a lake level of about 360, which will allow us to have enough water in the lake, enough water above the new intake that we can open up the intake, run the turbines, test the turbines, make sure they work, and then get the new powerhouse up and operational. And I meant to take this slide out because I don't really understand it myself, but basically, I'm not even going to try. So, what you're looking at is 36 years of data, and what I can tell you from here, without stepping on my foot or saying things I don't really know much about, we have some really smart engineers that are managing the lake levels, and with this model, they run this model, and they can tell us where the lake's at, what the weather's been like over the last 36 years, and they can predict what the lake is going to do. So they have a really good handle, as best as you can have with Mother Nature involved, on where the lake level is and where it will be. and what we need to do to manage the lake level. Shutting down generation, opening up generation, those kinds of things. This is an aerial shot of Blue Lake itself. You can see the outline of the lake right now. Once the dam is 83 feet higher, we're going to inundate this red line, goes around to the back of the lake. All this area will be underwater, inundated underwater. That gives us an extra 362 additional acres. It's a lot more water available for power generation. That's a really good thing when you're talking about managing the two lakes together. It gives just a better situation at the end of every year where our lake levels are, and allows the city to manage those lake levels better and not run out of water to generate power with. That was the end of the how. Are there any questions? Maybe we can get the light on. Yeah.
If you're going to increase by 362 acres of water, how much are you losing by raising the outflow? How much will be below the outflow?
That is a really good question that Jessica told me would be asked. Do you have the better answer for that? I don't know the exact numbers, but it works out. Generally, they located the new intake in a place where we're adding quite a bit more feet above it, and we're netting a lot more water. I don't have the exact numbers, but where it's located is a combination of needing more water to generate power, as well as several other factors. But where it is located does give them quite a bit more water to play with in the year. Sorry, I don't have the exact numbers, but it is more. I see any other? Yeah.
Well, when the lake gets bigger,
Yes.
does it get bigger because the more water is piled up and it has to go somewhere? Are you directing it that way?
Yeah, good question. So as the dam goes up 83 feet, the water will fill up and we're not letting it go anywhere. So it has to flow out, and that's the predicted outline of what the lake will now look like once it's 83 feet higher.
And you're just predicting that because of the topography?
Exactly. Yep. Any other questions? Yeah.
You didn't mention clearing around the perimeter, the new perimeter of the
Right.
lake. Will all that vegetation have to be removed?
Yeah, there's a separate contract for that. I might let Jessica talk on that, but as it gets filled up, the trees that are up there will become inundated and they'll all be collected. I don't know if you have.
People are very concerned about if we are cutting down trees prior to the lake being inundated, and we are not. It's a ruling from Department of Environmental Conservation. Blue Lake is #1 our drinking water source, and they have told us that we must leave the trees standing, because if the trees are logged, it will stir up too much dirt and sediment that could ruin our drinking water. So the trees will stay. As they get inundated and some of them fall, like Andrew said, there will be a separate contract for a contractor to come in and gather up those logs. They'll be pulled to the end of the reservoir and burned every year as the water goes down.
Huh. In other words, the trees that are standing there and are able to still stay standing will get inundated and die, and there'll be dead trees there
Yes.
until they fall over and
Are collected, yes.
Yeah.
Is everything on schedule?
Yes.
Look at that smile.
How often does our present dam overflow?
Our present dam, pretty consistently, I think it was 36 out of 30, or 33 out of 36 years that it will top the spillway and spill.
And so it's that water that will fill the new lake.
Yeah, basically it spills that often, and by doing the generation outage when we're doing it when, #1, the dam will be higher already when we start that. #2, the water will rise, we'll draw it down, but then it'll be I don't know what the prediction is, but it'll take several years before we get it full to where it's going to spill again.
2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years. Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, and it's a long answer, we can talk later, but how is this related to the Green Lake Dam when it's all done?
Similar to what it is now. Right now, the city plays with the lake levels and tries to balance them per se to balance the reservoirs. And so that's what Blue Lake, by making it higher, allows us to utilize Green Lake to a higher capacity. Blue Lake doesn't run out of water and we have to stop generating and start generating at Green Lake. This allows them to balance it better, so we're always able to run Green Lake.
So when Green Lake was built, it was like, that's the answer to all of our electrical problems, and everybody get electric heat, and everything
Yep.
was no problems forever. And here we are. It's not just-
Yep, a lot of growth, which is good. Anybody else have a, yeah?
The video made a big point about fish not being involved in this at all. And on your map, you called something a fish portal or something like that?
Oh, the fish valve unit, yeah.
What is that?
I'm not really sure why they call it the fish valve unit. It's just a smaller turbine that's near the campground there. It's a 1 megawatt turbine. That's getting replaced with a new turbine. Part of the city's responsibility in having the dam there is they have to keep Sawmill Creek flowing. I think it's 50 CFS. And so at that unit, they have a bypass valve where they're always keeping 50 CFS in Sawmill Creek for the fish. If you're spilling, you obviously have more, but
So, and that's a good question that isn't addressed in the film. There is a film before this called Brain Power that points it out a little bit better, but about a quarter mile up Sawmill Creek, there is a natural barrier falls. So the fish are only allowed to migrate up to that natural barrier falls, and they don't go past that up to the dam. So that water that we put in at the fish valve unit keeps that barrier falls flowing and the creek flowing, so the fish swim up to there and they naturally stop. So they don't actually come all the way up to the dam, which is why we call it a fish-friendly project.
yeah.
I've got, it says here on the intake site, you have a new intake must be constructed adjacent to the dam site prior to the generation outage. It will provide warmer water for the new salmon hatchery in the area. And that's at the dam site. What's that warmer water all about?
Well,
How does that
that,
fit?
that kind of ties into this gentleman's question here. The new sill of the intake is coming up quite a ways. I don't remember what the elevation of the existing intake is, but the water in the lake as you go deeper is colder. So by coming up, it makes the water a little
Okay,
warmer,
all
which is
right.
better for the fish in the lake.
The fish hatchery is down at the industrial park.
Okay, they're putting a new hatchery at the industrial park.
There's one there currently, yeah.
Okay. And that water comes from off that line as well. Yeah.
During the generation outage in August and September of 14, will the people of Sitka appreciate any change in localities?
Nope. We're the city will be providing diesel power. There's a new diesel turbine unit that's going in to help with that as well. And Green Lake will obviously still be operational, so you guys shouldn't notice a change. Yeah.
Raising the lake 83 feet is going to improve the access. As the lake is now, accessing the lake involves going down this, what I think is a very dangerous road.
Totally.
83 feet almost rises to the point where the road terminates now. Isn't that going to cause a potential for more recreational use of the lake?
Yeah, and maybe Jessica can give more detail on this, but as far as the part of the contract for general contract 9 Bernard's work is to put in a gate there, and so the access is to stay the same. Anything that you can, a kayak or something that you can pick up and put over the gate, you'll be able to get into. But other than that, there won't be recreational access allowed with that gate operated by the city.
But we'll see that when we're up there. So we'll see the new lake level where the gate's going in.
Yep.
You'll still be able to put a boat.
Yep. Whatever you can lift up and over 3 feet. So that's the idea. So continue to have recreational access, but not overdo it.
Are they gonna leave the crane up there?
Yeah. That's exactly.
You could ask Cliff that at the Apollo project. Yeah.
Boat's too big.
Will the intake portal still be utilized?
No, it'll be decommissioned, sealed off. Let's see, I can show you in this thing real quick. There's a tunnel plug that we're putting in where we tie in to the right down there. You can see the call out called concrete plug down where the tunnel ties in. So part of the work during the generation outage is they'll tie in right here, and then they'll come up and put in a, I think it's 40-foot long concrete plug, and the intake gate will also be sealed off. So that won't be operational at all.
What's the difference in height between the old and the new?
It's 209 to 313.
It's 209 to 313, so it's about 110 feet, or 104 feet.
So you lose quite a bit of head pressure with that difference.
No, the head pressure doesn't change, actually. It doesn't matter where your intake is. It's the difference where the powerhouse sits, the turbine actually sits to where the level of the reservoir is. So if the reservoir is 83 feet higher and the turbine stays in the same spot, no matter where you put your line in, it's just the difference between the height of the water and the turbine where it is down at the powerhouse. So. And these turbines work off of a higher head, so they're a lot more efficient and generate power a lot better with this higher head. Yeah.
Last question.
Since you're raising the outflow, the distance between the outflow now and the top of the existing dam is going to remain the same. You're just raising both of them, is that correct?
Basically. Yeah.
And you're saying that it's not going to increase head pressure.
No, it is going to increase head pressure.
Okay.
Yes.
And volume-wise, though, it's narrower at the bottom, I guess.
There's more volume, but it's also, like I said, as it raises up, these are higher head turbines, and with that higher head, they're a lot more efficient as well. So
What's the anticipated output when you're finished compared to now?
well, the new powerhouse will be 15.9 megawatts, and the existing is 7.
There's a overall, Blue Lake will produce 50% more power than it does now, and with Green Lake, it'll produce about 33% more power to the town.
Okay.
Okay, so
Turn it back
the
over to
buses
Jessica.
are actually over in this big parking lot, so if you need to use the restroom, go ahead. Otherwise, let's go out this back door, and there's a walkway that goes right around to the buses. Thank you. The first thing, can everybody hear me?
No, you cut in and out, so I think you're not starting up, or you're starting out, okay, and then lighting it out.
Okay, I have a death grip on this thing. As we're coming up the road, I wanted to point out that the road is open for hikers up to the Thimbleberry Heart Lake Trailhead there, but past that point it is not open to walking, biking, or car traffic. And some of the things I wanted to talk about while we went up the road here was the historical part of this project. Probably as many of you know, this dam was originally built in 1959. It was a partnership between the city and the pulp mill. And the pulp mill needed the water for their processing plant, and the city needed the power, so it was a good partnership. The pulp mill actually built the dam up to 35 feet and constructed the entire intake tunnel that is in place now. The city came in and built the dam up to its height that it is now, which is about 211 feet high. You only see about 150 feet of the dam because 70 feet is under surface. The dam was actually originally built to be expanded 23 feet, and so we are pushing our limits and raising it as high as we can with the canyon walls, and that brings us up another 83 feet. A lot of people on the way in were asking me about the road construction, and I don't know anything about that project except for that it is a separate project from the Blue Lake project. It's being performed by QAP out of Anchorage, Alaska, and it is a state DOT managed project. I believe their timeline is about the same as ours, which is to end next year. And they are blasting quite often out here on the road, so it's closed from 3 to 4:30 almost every other day. So that's all I know about that project. But DOT can answer more questions about that. Every year for the past 13 years. So we were slightly concerned about the avalanche we're just fine, except for this next corner that we're gonna take a wide left-hand turnaround. That was the only corner that was too tight for the crane to get around, so it was blown off and white. Other than that, the 396-foot boom of the crane was brought up this road without any other changes. Scary crazy? Scary crazy. Many of you have been up here before. This is going to look a lot different. There used to be a small rock knob up at the top here with a ladder that went down to the dam. It is now completely flattened. It's about the size of 2 football fields. This is Barnard's staging area. And the 600-ton crane sits here so that it can reach to the other side of the dam. They also have staging for all of their other equipment here. So we are going to be getting out here. Cliff is going to be talking about the crane, and we are going to be able to go out on the scaffolding and view the dam. So if everybody could follow Cliff when you get out, and he will talk about the crane first, and then we will talk about the scaffolding, and then we'll go down to the new lake level. So watch your step. It's very rocky. We had somebody trip last time, so just watch where you're walking. Thank you.
Could have brought bucket first. Going over there. We following you, Jessica?
Yep, if you guys want to follow me over this way.
Great.
It was about $10 million to buy all the parts that we've got
I
here.
think you can buy a small jet for that much.
Yeah, I imagine you probably can.
And before it has nothing on it. No black.
What, how wide is it?
The crane itself?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, about 30 feet wide or so it looks like. And then it's got a wagon behind it that, well, you can see those blocks is about 20,000 pounds.
How many operators do you have?
We've got 3 now that can run this.
That's a sense of power being in that cab.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on in there. There's probably 4 different computer screens that he's looking at all the time that are.
Are there cameras up?
Yep, there's a camera up at the very top of the boom, so he can kind of see down where he's going. But almost all the time we've got somebody talking to him on the radio wherever he's going, because he's swinging all the way across there. I mean, he can see what's going on, but he can't really tell how close he is to anything.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Going to be all trucked up here. Oh.
Yeah, the batch plant's down in at the Sawmill Cove Industrial Park, and they're trucking it up here from there.
Is improvement to the road any part of this, or will it look pretty much the same when you
It'll look pretty much the same. We actually had one corner there we widened out a little bit to be able to get this up here, but pretty much the rest of it is going to end up looking just like what it does.
You see about 40 trucks to get in?
Yeah.
If everybody wants to scoot in a little closer, Cliff is going to talk about all the stats on the crane, and you can ask him as many questions as you'd like.
Hopefully you guys got some of it already, but these guys just a few more minutes here. You guys picked a good day.
Oh, yeah. Good summer.
It's been
I'm sure
nice.
that helps you guys,
Yeah,
too.
it's been nice.
Any day this summer.
Been nice.
Sitting there showing his head, nothing right down.
All right, well, I'll just get started here. So this is a Liebherr LR 1600. It's a German-made crane. Its rated capacity is 660 tons. It's, like I told you guys, it took about 40 to 45 truckloads to get it up here the same road you guys came in on. 2 to 3 weeks all in to get it all put together. The boom is 395 feet long. There's each of these counterweights here about 20,000 pounds, so you can take a look at how much weight's on it as you're walking around. But all in, this thing is about close to 2 million pounds sitting up here. The biggest thing we need such a bit. Yes, ma'am, I can, or try to. The biggest thing we need the crane for is to be able to reach all the way across the other abutment of the dam. We only have to pick about 40 to 50,000 pounds most of the time when we're placing concrete, but it can reach all the way across the other side, which is over 325 feet. When we get over here to the scaffolding, you'll be able to see it, but it can pick men, concrete, whatever, all the way across the other side of the dam. So that's the reason we need such a big crane. All the concrete will get placed using this crane. There's some different sized concrete buckets around here behind us, but all the concrete will get made down at the industrial park, trucked up here, and then the crane will swing it over to the dam.
So you don't have any mixing up here?
Nope. They're all down there at the industrial park. I guess that's all. I guess the stats on the crane that I could think of. Anybody have any questions?
How much does the operator make an hour?
Enough?
Same here.
Yeah. No, he earns every penny though. Inside the cab, there's 3 or 4 different computers that are giving him all kinds of information and telling him, how much weight he's got, how far he's boomed out, all kinds of different things. It even tells him how much pressure the wind's putting on the boom. So he earns every penny in there.
Do you know how old the crane is?
I think it's a 2011. Pretty new.
Who owns it and where did it come from?
It's owned by a company called STG. They're based in Anchorage. I think it was only on 1 or 2 other jobs before it came here, setting wind turbines. We by far probably put more hours on it here than it had prior to getting here.
Everything in Alaska?
Yep.
So we came down from Anchorage?
Yep.
What job was it on before?
I'm not sure where it was. Well, if there's no more questions on the crane, we'll head over here to the scaffold. If we could keep like 5 to 6 people at a time out on the scaffold, just look down at the dam real quickly. You'll see we've started to place a few of the concrete blocks, and you'll also see the excavation over on the other side for the left abutment. Yeah. It's a long ways down there.
As soon as you're done, if you want to filter on back, we'll let people keep coming out here.
Big bucket and walk all the way down to the bottom and down that.
All right.
The existing tunnel. It is about 600 feet below the road surface. I don't like the camera face. I'm not going to say anything else yet, so you can stop. So I don't know if everybody got to hear Andrews talk about the lake down there. But in case you didn't know, Blue Lake is currently 5 miles long. It is 500 feet deep at the deepest point, and it actually is 120 feet below sea level at its deepest point. It takes the water entering the lake at the end of the stream approximately 3 months to come all the way down the lake and go into the intake tunnel. And I'm sure that Andrew said again that Blue Lake's primary source is our primary use is our drinking water source. The water is unfiltered as it comes into town. It comes down the same tunnel that we use for the powerhouse generation, and then it comes off of that tunnel down by the powerhouse now and is fed into town for drinking water. During the generation outage, we will be constructing a temporary filtration plant by Indian River, and that is where our drinking water will come from for those 2 to 3 months that we do all of our tie-ins and Blue Lake is down. Side of the bus as we come around this corner. Up on the cliff face is the surge chamber top portal. You can almost see it. There is a fence that is around it. The surge chamber top portal daylights at approximately elevation 450. So way up above the trees up there. Usually there was a stop place we could stop, but it's all grown over. So.
Show me where you want to stop.
No, you don't need to stop. Just keep an eye out on the left-hand side there. Where that, yep, that's a surge chamber top portal. So the way that that surge chamber top portal was constructed is they actually built the adit tunnel 470 feet in the cliff face down by the old pulp mill filter plant, and they blasted upwards and mucked it out through that adit tunnel. So they blasted in 470 feet and then up 350 feet to construct that surge chamber. Does anybody have a question about the surge chamber? I hear people talking about it. No? Good? You got it all. Okay. for the pulp mill. It is now currently completely full with all of the contractors and also the QAP road construction contractors. As we drive through the industrial park, the laydown space on the right-hand side of the bus is for QAP. On the left-hand side is for the Blue Lake expansion project. That's actually the new pen stock that we're looking at out the left-hand side of the bus. The pieces that are painted on the outside are ones that are going to be underground. The coated pieces will be above ground. The barge on the right-hand side was used by the Blue Lake tunnelers when they were working. They're actually completely done, so that is sitting empty. The RV park on the left-hand side is some of the construction managers for Barnard, so they're out here watching everything. This on the left-hand side is the concrete batch plant, and behind it is all of the aggregate that's being used for the concrete. So all of our concrete is coming from the industrial park and either being taken in trucks to the powerhouse site or up to the dam site. The rock on the right-hand side is what's come out of the road project so far. The rock on the left-hand side is what has come out of the Blue Lake project. And there's actually more behind us that I didn't point out. Behind on time, we're actually just going to turn around and stop on the bridge, and I'll talk about what's going on at the powerhouse site. The access road to the existing powerhouse is across an old, I think it was a train bridge, but it's old and it's dilapidated, and so this will be the new access, but they do have to blast straight into this rock here to construct that road. Megawatt turbines. Do we have any questions? No?
So the old one's completely getting shut down?
That's a good question. So the old powerhouse is being decommissioned at the end of this project. The generators cannot take the additional pressure. They're actually from the 1950s. So they're still good generators, so we are going to try and sell them once this project, the new expansion project, is online. And then the existing powerhouse will be filled with concrete up to the second deck there and be used as storage.
What's the work schedule like? Do they only do 40 hours, or what's it look like?
Right now, it depends on the contractor. So, like Crux Subsurface, who is doing the grouting, they are working actually nights. They're on night shift because they're working under where they're working on the dam, so they can't be working during the day. The guys that are working on the dam, Barnard Construction, they're there from about 6 in the morning until about 8 o'clock at night. The guys that are working on the powerhouse, it completely depends on if they're doing a pour that day or exactly what's going on, but they're here about 6 in the morning until about 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Saturday. So Sunday is the only day that most of the workers are not here, except for Cliff.
Is it just because of room that the concrete is not being made up there, or is your batch plant down here for another reason?
He asked why the batch plant is down at the industrial park. That's a good question. I guess because they're serving concrete to different places, that they had it at one centralized location and they're moving it that way. I think originally it was going to be at the campground, but for whatever reason, logistically, they decided to put it at the industrial park. So, I'm not sure.
Then storing the aggregate probably.
Yeah, the aggregate's there as well, so.
Must be awful wet.
Of the city's contracts was to procure some of the equipment that we'll be using on the project, and one of the things that we procured was the metal building. So this building is actually going to be a prefabricated metal building with concrete walls that the contractor is just putting together. So